Good morning, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Flowers Part 2. This is Session 1, and it's good to be back with everyone. And I'd like to go take a lot of the things that we were working with in the last number of sessions in Part 1 and take them further. So over Part 1, we really dealt with a lot of the foundations and a lot of the fundamentals. How to set it up, how to get the structure of the vase, where to place the situation in the rectangle, the geometry, the values, the figuring out the tonal relationships, brush handling, talked about Manet. Pretty straightforward engagement with the flowers. And that, it's hard. There's a lot of components, a lot of pieces to try to put together all at once as we work. And it was great seeing all of the posts and all of the work. Really, really great. And now in Part 2, I'd like to take that further. And so the engagement with the motif of the flowers is really starts to be a place to explore things like figure-ground relationship, like what's space and what's form, and the relationship between, say, the background and the bouquet, or the space around the flowers and the flowers themselves. So the first two sessions, that's what I'd like to try to do, play in that way, not worry about resolution, not worry about depiction or clarity. You know, no one may understand what it is, but just use it as a way of exploring, and not use it like it could be anything else. It is flowers, and flowers are beautiful, but really just sort of pushing that situation. The second two sessions, what I'd like to do is work with really thick paint. And what's that like? And what do you do with this? You know, like really thick, lathery paint. What's it like to work with that? And give you all an opportunity to just try that on. What does that even look like? Okay. So I'm assuming you can all hear me, or I would have gotten some chats. So that's good. Okay, we're there. Thumbs up if I can hear me. Yes, thank you. Super. Okay. So not too hot today in here. Air conditioning is off, so I can hear you if anyone has a question. I think we're there. So today we're just going to draw. I'm going to start in graphite, then I'll move into charcoal. Also, last session, the end of Part 1, we talked a bit about flatness and space, 2D and 3D, and you know, what's the deal about space? Like, so I kind of laid out some of how I understand that. And if there's time today, we'll see. If there's time today, I'd like to try to take that further. Some of the implications of this 2D, 3D combo. Like, okay, it's cool, but like, okay. All right, cool. All righty, so I'm going to work in graphite. I'm going to draw this lovely bouquet. I set this up with my daughter yesterday afternoon. That was fun. And y'all can see this. Maybe I'll make sure I'm to the side here. And I need to go a little bit like that. Can you? How's that? And I can see that little. That's better. Yeah. And you all can see. Yeah. Maybe Yeah, right for there. I think maybe a little more. Yeah. A little better. Okay. Okay, so some of the marks that I'm making will be in relation to the forms. Some of the marks I'm going to be making are in relation to the feel of the space around it. So like if this is, say, that rose, God, they're opening beautifully. If this is that rose, let's say this would be how I understand the feel of the space, right, around here. This, the space. Or if this rose is here, and I might actually have to move it over there. Let's move it over there. And this rose is, say, over here. I have no idea where things are. That's right. Okay, so here's this one. And actually, I might need to, well, maybe. I think I'm going to lower everything. Anyway, I can, if I do a mark like this, I'm going through the space. Now, is there an edge that I see? No. I'm just moving through how I see. I'm going from rows 1 to rows 2. That's all I'm doing. Is there some object that I'm looking at? I just am feeling through the space. So I'm just explaining some of the terms of the way I'm playing. All right, I'm gonna put on some not too rowdy music. I like rowdy music, but we'll let this be a little more. That's Cassandra Wilson. I don't know if you can hear Cassandra Wilson. Okay, so like, you know, a mark like this, yeah, there's a fold, but really what I'm doing is just the feel of the tabletop. So I'm using sort of this kind of imagined tactile experience, whether it's the plane of the board of the table or the feel of the space around the bouquet. I'm using my imagined touch, hand, tactility as an impetus for the mark, just like we're using our visual perception as a motive for a mark, right? It's just another sense that's feeding the energy of the mark. That's all. Just breaking it down. The marks aren't being tied to depiction. They're not being tied to legibility or an optical image like a photograph, which is how our images and marks have been tied in the West since, maybe like the 15th century, really, if you believe what David Hockney wrote. But certainly since Vermeer, right? Okay. Sharpener. But that all got, with photography, that all got loosened up, certainly with Cezanne and Cubists, and this really kind of comes out of Giacometti. There's a lot of my energy and marking comes out of Giacometti. And I'm not, right, I'm not, me, this is not the way I like to play. I'm not looking at this, I'm just responding. I just like looking and marking in relation to what I see. It's fun. It's an engagement. Also, it's sort of like, you know, I've talked about, I don't remember which course now, but I talk about the sort of the metaphor of being in water. And when we are developing our skills and we're learning how to measure, get objective geometry, proportions, that sort of thing, it's really important to mark and then check, and mark and check, and mark and check. And that's sort of like swimming, you know, like freestyle or the crawl or whatever it is. You're gonna put your head down and you breathe up, and you put your head down and you breathe up, and it's very, very quick, back and forth. And then there's like snorkeling, right? Where you just kind of like, whoa, you just leave your head in there for a long time and you're just kind of hanging out and grooving, and you just let stuff happen. And then there's like scuba diving, where you just, whoa, you just go way deep for a really long time and you're just grooving, you're just hanging out. And so painting and drawing can be like that, you know. And so, you know, like, oh, I didn't even know, I mean, I knew I was making those marks, but I wasn't looking, I was just sort of going, right? I really probably should use like should get a graphite stick. I keep thinking about that. You know, then I don't have to pause to sharpen. Just keep going. Yeah, I should. I will. So, you know, some of it I'm really, I'm looking at the shape of that leaf or the rose, but I'm not checking, I'm just sort of attending to it. But then I'm also like, you know, feeling, oh, that curtain in the back, or the plane of the table, or the vase. This is the little leaf, this is the bottom of the vase. But I am being specific in my attention. I'm really, as I'm looking, I'm honing in or homing in, depending on how you use it. I'm homing in on, you know, this petal, the edge of this petal, right. I'm being specific. So my mark is filled with specific engagement. I'm just not checking if I'm accurate. I don't care if I'm accurate. I care that I'm really engaged. So I don't want to, it's not a general, I'm not, as much as it might look like it, I don't feel like I'm flailing. I feel like I'm engaging just not trying to be legible. There's something about specificity, specific engagement, that focuses our attention and energy into what we're doing, no matter what the formal elements may be, or the formal look or of appearance. There's something about staying attentive specifically that ends up filling the material with energy, something like that. So trying to work objectively does that, because when we're learning to do that, trying to make it look like that thing, we must pay attention. But there are ways of working that aren't necessarily trying to make it look objective, but you're really being attentive. There's a lot of great abstract painting out there, or whatever, or even representational painting. So that's not, anyway, you get what I'm saying. So using an eraser, also, it's like, I'm not using this to correct, I'm using the eraser just to draw with. I mean, it's a way of marking, in a way, just like the pencil or the charcoal. In some ways, can be even more satisfying as a marking device. Right? It starts, ooh, that's interesting. It's like, wow. You got something here? Could I give, could you give us the names of some abstract painters doing this kind of work that springs from specific engagement without concern for legibility? Other than myself. I don't think of myself as an abstract painter, really. Curious as that might sound. I think I'm a representational painter. Some of the work might look abstract, but I mean,
more than a representational painter. People like you, or who are, I don't care really where they are, representational.
So someone who's representational, but not in a straightforward, depictive way?
Correct.
Now or anytime?
Anytime.
Well, Giacometti, right?
Sure.
De Kooning's people like that, the women oh gosh, all the great ones. I mean, Anne Gale, right? Catherine Kehoe, both of them, they're really working from perception, but they're not photographed. You can see the mark, you see the play. Other ones today, like Aubrey Leventhal, Jennifer Puczynski. I mean, they're now. Matisse, Picasso, right? I mean, those are our great. You know, they just broke it all open. I mean, my goodness, what they did. Cezanne started the ball rolling that way. You know, where I mean, gosh, Cezanne, right? It's, I mean, those distortions, like, what's going on? And they are specific. Cezanne is specific. Picasso, Matisse, they're specific because there is something. Let me pause this a second. I like the music. It's like it pulls my thinking. So Cezanne, Picasso, Matisse, they are engaged with the representational motif in a very specific way. Whether it's for Cezanne, there's a perception, but there's also the dynamic of the rectangle, and those things are pulling him in a very like it's a real. There are real specific questions he's engaged in that end up moving the image in a particular way that is not optical. That is, it's not the way we think of like optical. I mean, like a photographic image. And I'm saying optical because we've been influenced by optical images since before the time of photography, taking it to be like the real thing. And the way Picasso is distorting and looking for ways of refashioning the human body. The way Matisse is looking for an image related to the motif he's seeing that somehow reflects back to him his inner experience in relation to that motif, and he's crystallizing that inner sense in relation. It's going back and forth with the drawing or the painting until, you know, so it's guiding him, that inner sensibility in relation to the motif. Auerbach, wow, dealing with this thing in front of him, this person. You know, and they all have different projects. They all have different questions, but they're specific. I mean, that's what, you know, even if they kind of change, but, you know, one of the things, and I think I've mentioned this before, you know, we get our skill sets, and in a way this is all sort of foundational and preliminary, and then we need to, like, okay, now that I can do stuff, what should I do? So that's really like, well, what do I care about? I don't really know yet. Well, who do I love looking at? What are they doing? What are they doing? And what's driving them to do that? What are their questions? That's another way of saying, well, what's their project? And as we keep working, doing our thing, learning about other people's thing, and then we start understanding slowly, oh, what do I actually care? What am I doing? And then it starts to become more conscious. It's not that we're necessarily starting out with a program. Some people do work that way. That is, some people do work, let's say, more conceptually driven from the get-go. Nothing wrong with that. That's just the way they're built. Some people, it's more experiential. I just do stuff and then I'm reflecting on it. What am I doing? And as we reflect on it, most painters generally are sort of in that kind of experiential thing. Not necessarily though. But as we reflect on it, it's like, how do I sharpen that? Formally, like, I'm sort of interested in the relationship of form and space, my perception of it, how I'm marking in relation to it, activating the space around it. That's sort of taking precedent over depicting in a legible way the flowers. Like, that's nice, but okay, I can do that. That's all right. What else? It really interests me, right? How's that? I kind of kept going.
No, that's great. It's a broader range of people than I expected, but I just have to think about that. I see what you're saying. They're all being specific, but in very different ways according to their project.
That's right. Their inclination, their temperament. That's right.
Right. Okay.
That's right.
So think about it more broadly. Yeah.
That's right. Because they're certainly not trying to, I mean, and even folks that are more, let's say, normal in there, or more, closer to a normative depiction of the world, like Fairfield Porter or Albert York or Leonard Anderson, William Bailey. Bailey didn't think of himself as a realist. He's doing something else. Well, what is it he's doing? What's going on there? We got something here. I don't know, Sam Kelly. Great, cool. I'll take a look. Thanks, Nancy. Cool. Sam Kelly. All right. Okay. I'll keep going. We'll do this for a little while more, and then maybe we'll shift into to a charcoal, maybe something like that. Although this is just like early stuff. Okay. I don't know. What is this? That's it there. And it's here. Okay. Right? See, I actually want to land. Oh, I wasn't sure that's the rim. So I'm trying to relate specifically to the situation. I mean, you can move things. I'm not saying, I'm trying to like get in there. And okay, here, let's slow that down. This mark is how I'm experiencing visually the edge of this leaf. This mark, doing this, what I'm just doing, back and forth, is how I'm understanding I'm exploring the distance between the point of the leaf and the edge of the vase, right there. I'm going back and forth through space. So I'm mixing a visual response to I'm calling it a tactile response, or a tactile projection, imagining things in terms of their physical form or the physical space, depth, right? Planar structure, as opposed to just that flat translation of the geometry and edges, right? So I'm just going back, I'm toggling back and forth between different modes of questions, and that's interesting to me. But basically what I'm trying to present here is a way of playing with both form and space, figure and ground, and mixing those up, playing with figure, ground, form, and space. Those of you that are doing the cubist thing, so, right, we just finished it up, all right? It's all about form and space, figure, ground, and just mixing it up in a way. Like, that's what they're doing. It's like, whoa, de Kooning coming out of all that. You know, like there's this rose, and there's this rose, okay? And in terms of the flat drawing, in terms of the geometry and the translation visually in 2 dimensions, so here's this rose, and here's this rose back here, and there's a distance of like that, right? I'm trying to set up the geometry in the flat grid. But what if I ask, well, how much distance is there in my experience? And I don't know, between this rose and that rose. Where are they? How far back do I go to this rose? How far back is it? And then how about getting from this rose to the wall, to that dark green cloth? Is it 2 inches, 3 inches, 5 inches? I don't know. 3 inches, 4 inches? I don't know. I mean, I don't, right? I don't know. I don't know. Right? So it's like, oh, and how about from here to the carnation? I don't know. Gosh, I mean, it's right next to the thing, just in terms of the flatness of the image, but how much space is there between this and that? So that's a specific question I'm asking. Also, let me say that, and this is related to sort of how I'm talking about like swimming. I'm allowing, I need to tolerate this experience of not resolved or floating or not clear or not legible, right? In order, right, I need to tolerate, is this gonna become anything? I'm not gonna even ask it. I need to tolerate that sense of uncertainty, unknown, if I'm going to ask questions that are real for me, if they're real questions, I don't know the answers. And if I don't know the answers, it means I'm working in a situation of uncertainty. And I have to be willing to do that in order for me to be really engaged. Like, you know, I'm not kidding. I don't know. It's like, whoa. And so over time, you sort of get comfortable with the experience of not knowing. And then it's actually, I mean, right? It's sort of, I don't, it's been forever, but, you know, I don't know if you go skiing or, I don't know. Maybe that's not good enough. I don't know. But, you know, like engaging in stuff that feels really alive. It's open. So, you know, just kind of thinking about some of what I've been saying. I mean, this is shifting our relationship to what is drawing and painting. So that drawing and painting isn't, in its largest sense, making an image. It is that. We're making a picture. It's a way of being engaged creatively with my life. Like, what do I care about? What are my questions? Where's my energy? Where's my attention? And maybe I love color, you know, whatever it might be, the material, or, right? So it's a way of being engaged with my life in some open, creative way. And the bonus is I get these drawings and paintings, these objects. Great. It's nice. Give them as gifts, you know. Put them on the fridge. Oh, yeah, what do we got? Then as the play of different kinds of questions starts, or let's just leave it as the play of questions becomes more familiar, as I start to be more at home embodying or working with my questions formally in my mark, composition becomes not simply how to get the formal dynamic of the rectangle to work in some kind of design way. It is that. But I'm also composing in relation to my questions. Or mindset. It's like, oh, I'm not asking anything over there. Well, that's curious. Why not? Why do I take that area for granted? Maybe it's appropriate, but I shouldn't see that. So what we're seeing, I mean, as the drawing is rolling along, is I'm just asking these questions over and over and getting more specific in terms of the visual or the tactile, going over certain areas, hanging out in areas, moving around. And you know, just the engagement without needing to show up in a particular way, without, right? I'm just engaging and doing, and you know, it just starts to accumulate. Just letting the material arrive on its own, indirectly, so that there's not necessarily a kind of a willed image arriving. It's, I'm engaging and the image just starts to arrive in its own way. At a certain point, I may decide, oh, I'd like it a little more legible. Fine, right? That's fine. But you may want to just see, like, I don't know, how long can I hang out here and like just let it be a mess, right? Or unknown, right? Just see. You always tidy it up. Or maybe I'm working and it's like, oh, you know what? I got a little anxious. I kind of made it a little too legible. I'm gonna see if I can just let it loose a little bit. What is that? How would I do that? I could just kind of like bring a sledgehammer to it, but I could ask other kinds of questions, and through those questions allow something else to start to emerge or morph or whatever. Also, in order for me to play this way, to play this way, I need to feel, to some extent, integrated or comfortable drawing, so that aspects of mark and geometry and edge, and that I've worked with it enough that it's integrated with my system. So that takes time, but you can do that even if you feel like, oh, I have more to learn with geometry, or I have more to learn with value, or I have more to learn with paint handling. But there's a sense of integration that really essentially isn't necessarily dependent on the level of skill. It has more to, although, yeah, that's really helpful. But an openness is in some ways a kind of a letting go, allows for the integration that does exist to just start to play, no matter what the skill level might be. So just to say out what just happened here for me is I'm trying to find the visual of the vase. I'm trying to give a sense of structure, and that's taking some real kind of attentive to my visual. But then I can feel like, oh, I'm kind of maybe getting a little gripped there. And so then I turned away and opened into this more kind of tactile play. Just so it's sort of like constricting and expanding, something like that, depending on, you know, how you want to play. Inhaling and exhaling. I can keep going, but maybe I'm tempted. Want to work. And I want to play with charcoal too. A few minutes. And then we'll shift the charcoal. Well, maybe we'll pause it there. Any questions maybe before we move on to a charcoal drawing. Are we there? You guys out there? Yes. Hope. No? Can you hear me?
We're here.
Okay. All right. I'm going to change paper. We're going to play with charcoal. See what does that do? Maybe I'll give you guys a. There you go. We have a. Thank you.
Jordan?
Yeah.
So it's Leslie again. Could
Yeah.
you just comment on your use of the eraser? Are you just
Sure.
trying to break into things and shake it up, or is that to find the light?
I'm using the eraser. I'm using the eraser in ways not so differently than the graphite. I'm using it to explore the sense of space or form. I'm using it to locate where things are. So in a way, I'm using it like I'm marking with a pencil. But I understand that eraser is breaking the marks down, and in a way, it's sort of like cooking the image a bit more, so that the other kinds of marking, softer edges or opening up edges or moving from a dark mark, it turns it into a lighter mark, but it's not the white of the page. I mean, so it's creating more variety, but when I'm wielding the eraser, I'm wielding it and thinking in ways that are very similar to, or the same even, what am I doing with a pencil? So again, like that whole sense of specificity, I'm staying very specific when I'm using the eraser. I'm not coming in with an eraser and like, ooh, this area is not working. I'm going to erase it out because it's a mistake and make that blank. That is making eraser marks disconnected from my perception. I want my eraser marks to have the same engagement as my positive graphite marks, even if they're lifting it up. When I'm marking, I want to be engaged.
Right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll shift, okay. So what happens if I ask the same kind of questions, but I'm just changing my medium? So instead of graphite, I'm using charcoal. And maybe still erasers, but I'm adding a chamois. That's basically, but It's all different once you do that. But okay, let's see what happens. You guys see? Nope. Better. It's like, wow, so different. It's like, it's also big. I think they're called big chunks or something, chunky or something. Doesn't take long for something to start happening. Charcoal is just so. And then if you break in with a chamois, it all changes so fast. Maybe I'll do eraser first. Oh, where's my eraser? Oh, here's one. I need an eraser. Where's mine? Huh. I have a plastic eraser too that I use with charcoal. Well, I'll use a new one. Huh. Okay. Right, so you just see how it's smearing in there and just creating just a whole other feel of mark. This is so that's a white plastic, like a Mars plastic eraser. This is a kneaded eraser, the gray kneaded eraser, gum. Well, not gum, kneaded. And it's a bit softer in its mark. And if we break in with a chamois, it really depends on the chamois. Okay. So this is a dirty chamois, it's not a clean chamois. And it's marking all on its own, but also it's pushing the charcoal around Right? It's a whole other thing. I mean, it's like, oh, it's gone. I mean, right? Like, whoa. Whoop. We got some shots here. Cool. Cool. What kind of charcoal? Vine charcoal. It's just, this is just a vine. You know, it's not compressed. I don't know what brand it is. It's Coats. Willow Coats. I think I got it from Jerry's. Jumbo tree stick. And the chamois, you know, you could go, I mean, if you go to an art supply store, they're not, if you go to an auto supply store, you can get a big sheet. They're not as fine, but get the real stuff, not the artificial stuff, and just cut them up. Okay. Yeah, wild, right? I mean, it's just, and I'm just asking the same things. Didn't really change my question. Change the material, and not into some radical, I mean, but just graphite to charcoal. And it's like, oh, that's totally different. And it'll change again if different paper changes. What happens if I use ink wash? What happens if I use acrylic with brush on paper? What happens if I mix charcoal and ink wash? What happens if I, right? And you just keep on tweaking things, and it's like, oh, that's totally different. See? Yeah, kind of in the way. Let's see. Let that. Yeah. There we go. One of the nice things about charcoal that I'm not comfortable with in oils, unless you wear gloves, I suppose. I'm really, you know, like getting my hands in there, it's nice. I mean, you gotta wash. You don't have to. I suppose. I don't know. You can use different size charcoal too. I'm not. Okay, I'll just keep using this. I like it. pause the music here. And we got some shacks. I guess they're all basically saying, what? Yeah. Yeah. It's the aliens. It is. It was definitely the aliens. Okay. Hi. Sorry about that. Well, something's happening with this thing now. I mean, do we want to sort of regroup and talk a little bit? You have questions about anything that's been happening with the charcoal? Should I draw a little bit more? Anyone have any thoughts about any of that? Where you guys are at? No. Just glad to be back. Must have been about what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
No, about 5.
Oh, that's all?
Not too long.
That's not so bad. I was less panicked than last week.
Oh, good.
I thought, okay, I know what I need to do now. I just need to go do it. So I just restarted everything. I rebooted my router. Okay, so, I mean, you guys get a sense of what I'm doing here. How I'm playing, and are there specific questions about any of the material that we've covered so far in this, in terms of asking questions, playing with the materials, kind of letting things just happen, being engaged?
Hi, Jordan. It's Timmy.
Hey, Timmy.
I wasn't in Flowers 1. You may have covered this. Is there something you'd like to say about setting up the flowers themselves, the cloth, the light, what have you?
So I didn't talk a lot about setting up the actual bouquet. You sort of just said you want to be interested in looking at it. I talked a good bit about how you want to place it, or if you know, just thinking about the placement on the rectangle. But I didn't really talk a lot about somewhat. But in terms of the actual bouquet, you know, it's you want to think about it. You want to think about whether you know what's behind it, and what's the surface, and what eye level is it at. You know, I put that on a box, or I raised it up so it's closer to my eye level. I don't want to look down on it, me.
Okay.
But you know, everyone, you know, just all the specifics. I've done it with, you know, one cloth on the table and another cloth behind. You can do it with no cloth behind and deal with whatever happens to be there. It's just everything about the situation. If I'm working from observation with the flowers, I want to be working from observation with what's behind the flowers and what's under the flowers, and what kind of container is it? Is it opaque? Is it transparent? Do I like the vase? All those things. Do I want a big bouquet? Do I want variety? Do I want it to be wilted? What do I want? So all of those things end up affecting my engagement. Basically, I want all those aspects to suit me, and maybe I don't know at first, and so I need to try things out, and then over time you kind of get to know what you like.
That was helpful.
Yeah, you know, and then if you go and you buy flowers, you may want to buy enough and think about having some variety of stuff to play with when you we did talk about this, when you set it up, so that, you know, you're not just like, well, this is what I bought and this is what I have, and so I'm going to just use this. You want to actually, no, I really like this, and I like, you know, throwing in those, you know, those little yellow things and the red carnations with the light pink roses. I mean, all that's right. So I need to have enough stuff to work with. And then sometimes, of course, you have leftovers, and then you get to bring them home and have a little thing at home, which I did. I brought them home, and each of my kids now has a little thing of flowers in their room.
Very good.
Any other thoughts about any other specific questions? Before maybe we got some time, I could go into some other stuff.
Jordan,
Okay.
Yeah. It seems like you're just always using the natural light there. You're not lighting it.
I do.
Artificially.
I like natural light myself. But again, that's, again, it's temperament and it's personal, it's personal predilection and what you're interested in. Yeah. But I actually, we have more than just natural light right now. I've got these fluorescents up there that particularly, but it's helpful with the filming, with the videotaping.
Right. But I mean, some people do a setup and they have a big spotlight.
Sure.
Get a
Try it.
Shadow and light effect.
Yeah. They like the drama, for sure. Try it. It might really work. I like it more ambient light myself, but yeah, sure, try it. And there's different kinds of spots, and there's different kinds. There's floods and spots, and there's more warm light, and there's cool light, and there's full spectrum and everything, and you just try things out. What kind of background do I want? Do I want it dark? Do I want it light? Do I want it really saturated? Do I want it muted? Do I want pattern? Do I want wood? Other thoughts or questions? Okay, I'm gonna go turn off my coffee before I completely turn to mud. Okay, and we've got a little bit of time here. Let me see if I can gather my thoughts. There were some things that I wanted to talk about in relation to last week. We talked about the three-dimensionality, the feeling of space. I talked about this relationship between the 2D reality of the canvas and the material and the mark, and the 3D experience, the experience of form and space, and how it's really up to us how we want to play that. Some people want a more illusionistic, three-dimensional experience, more realist, really go far that way. Some people really like, so yeah, there's some of that, but I kind of like that flat kind of Diebenkorn or Matisse, or some people want to go really flat, like a Kenneth Nolan or something. And I talked about my sense that there's something about that combination of the 2D and the 3D that really gets us. There's something particularly, if we're painters, for sure. It's like magic. It's like, this is a 2D object. And yet we get that space. And no, it's just this object. And we get that space. We get that light. It's this color. It's just colored mud. We get that light and space. And it's not just, wow, that's really convincing. That's really well done. It's like, how is it? What's going on here? It's a 2D thing, and it opens into 3D, and whoa, it's like there's something that really is compelling about that. And that everyone's got sort of this different set point of a combination of the 2D, 3D. They really dig the materiality, maybe, but look at it's space in that, all that material. Wow, that's crazy. And I think I was thinking about it, and I've written about it in the past. I talked a little bit about it in the past. There's something about this two-dimensional experience and this three-dimensional experience that is kind of happening at the same time. And depending on me, where I go, I'm going to have either a 2D sense or a 3D sense, and it's like a paradox, or it's like these two things happening at what's going on? And it's occurred to me that there's something very human about that situation where our experience seems to be able just to toggle back and forth, like body and spirit. It's like, I can sense this, there's a sensibility that's like spirit, and it's like, oh no, it's body, I'm in my body. It's everything's, and we, is maybe the object of the painting is like our body, but we're also awake, and it's like spirit, and it's like, it's like maybe the three-dimensional experience. I don't think it's necessarily clear, to me anyway, what's what. But I can sense that there is it's like as if two different things happening at the same time, as if. And depending on how I attend to it, or how I focus in on it, my experience is going to change. But it's all available all at the same time. And it's sort of like how my mind and sensibility, how I come to it. But of course, the thing itself is just the thing itself, and seems to be functioning in opposite ways at the same time. But it's really only opposite ways when I try to unpack it and nail it down with my mind. And there just seems to be something very human about that. The way we experience life as kind of like a set of contradictions, where we experience life as, when we really kind of drop into it, guys, feels like a paradox. Or we feel like maybe we're at odds with body and spirit, but we're both. We're both, of course. And so there's something about the way a painting functions in this 2D, 3D combination that seems to give us a creative form that feels really close to what it means to be human, because of this kind of crazy combo that we're in. So for me, it's very poignant and delicious and beautiful. And we have this, of course, everyone again has their own particular combination of 2D, 3D that really works for them. Anyway, I wanted to just unpack that a little further. Some of the, how I understand the inside of this aspect of what painting is. Yeah. Any thoughts or questions or responses or? Yeah. Okay. Well, feel free if it comes up and you got a question, you can email me, or next week if you got a question about what I just said. Are you guys there? Hopefully I didn't lose you guys again.
Yeah, we're
Joy.
here.
Okay. Good. It's you're all, right. You know, with the internet now, it's kind of nutty. Cool. So yeah, throwing that out there, and I mean, it relates also. Just when we talk about showing up with our attention, when we talk about I need to be specific. In a way, what we're talking about is that my present tense engagement, as I'm marking, as I'm putting paint on, somehow my energy over here, internal subjective experience, gets somehow into the material, so that the what I take to be sort of this immaterial, subjective, invisible thing that I experience over here somehow gets into the material and the mark and the image, this thing, and becomes available. So where's the boundary between the subjective and the objective? And where's the separation between the invisible, energetic, and then the appearance and the formal qualities, right? And it's like, I don't know where that boundary is. Is there such a thing? Is that just what I'm thinking about? And so this 2D, 3D combo is somehow an expression of that. So there's this, so that's, it becomes, right, we gotta really show up. We gotta really be engaged when we're working for the thing to be alive. And it's like, well, wow, what is that? How does that even happen? We got some few chats here. Let's see what we got. Yeah, it's dense. But I wanted just to, as we were talking last week about that 2D, 3D, I wanted to, bring this into the conversation as well. I think it's a larger context for how what the meaning is in that for us. Cool. All right. Well, anyone else here? Maybe I'll give you a little, see a little better maybe. And I'll take some pictures, put it in the email. So next week we'll continue. I'll be working in black and white. We'll be painting. Yeah. Oh, no. Color. It'll be figure ground with color. The week after will be thick paint. Yeah. Yeah. So next week it'll be like this kind of play, but with color. Maybe a limited palette, but there'll be color. And then 2 weeks we'll work with some really thick paint and see how does that work. Cool. So have fun with the exercise. Don't take it too seriously. Enjoy it. Feel free to post on the Facebook. Feel free to send me images or your email. What else? Cool. All right. I'll get this stuff edited and sent out to you, and we'll be in touch. Okay.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thanks, Jordan.
Bye.
Oh, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.